you're saying it's due to internal forces that the continents are moving?
Yes.
But what would, in your opinion then, what would cause continents to move?
Well, the molten magma that is towards the center of the Earth is in liquid form, and it is circulated with currents, and these currents cause the plate tectonics, which is the congealed crust, to move about, and which is what we see as the continents that are above the ocean. And you can see how the Hawaiian Islands will move along with the break in the crust, so that over eons the islands go in a certain direction, which is the same direction as the magma current below the surface. So all of these are a theory.
But Velikovsky also argued about the cultural record, which I find to be fascinating. For example, the biblical flood, Noah's Ark, and all of that. The same story is told in other cultures about the same time. And so you're not arguing with that. You're saying the causation is what we're discussing.
Right. And I'm not arguing with the biblical record at all. In fact, belief in God, I say this to everyone I can get a hold of, is not mutually exclusive with the study of science. I mean, to me, the fascination with the creation is fascination with the creator. Anyone who's really studied science like you has somehow an innate feeling that this is created. This didn't just happen.
Well, my mind has taken me back and forth on this question since I'm a little boy. And at the end of the day, I don't have the answer any more than the next man, or else I'd be God himself. So I have to live with my own belief system. And as I sit on a low mountaintop here in San Francisco, and I look out on the bay, and I see the landforms coming up out of the water, and I recognize that there are landforms underneath the water, and all of this could change in a moment, in the flash of an eye, that the whole thing could be thrown up in the air by for some events I have no control over. What do I have to do but live in awe of the moment? That's what I have come back to, is I live in the moment, I breathe in the moment, I practice my breathing, and I say it's in God's hands. I can do nothing about it. I can't sit here and get nervous about it. Now, if that's a religious experience, then that's what I have on a fairly regular basis. Does that make sense to you? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it does.
In other words, I have awe for God's creation. But does that mean I'm going to sit here and get on my hands and knees and bow down to him 3 times a day or 6 times a day like Obama does? No. I'm not going to bow down 6 times a day because I do it with every breath.
You have to find him in your own way. And
I do. I actually say thank God every time I breathe in and I breathe out, because without him I wouldn't breathe in or breathe out.
Don't worry about being up today and down tomorrow. Those waves are the nature of science. And
oh no, I'm not worried about my so-called. No, my moods are definitely a reflection of my inner humors. If you want to get unscientific about it, I live close to the San Francisco Bay. I watch the tides, 2 up, 2 down a day. I know man is exactly the same way. We have ups and downs several times a day. Now, I don't mean every second. If you're swinging up and down every moment, then you're a manic depressive and you need medication. But if you have cyclical ups, 2 a day and 2 a day down, that's a perfectly normal cycle, whatever the number may be. And the psychiatric profession, unfortunately, has gone off the deep end by saying we should all be flatliners, and they try to stabilize that line with medication. That's the mistake that people are making.
You can't stabilize it. You just have to learn to surf.
There you go. Ride the wave. Right. Hey, Chris, I'm sending you a free copy of Countdown to Mecca. It'll be out in only 2 weeks. Now, this is the kind of show I enjoy doing. It's that simple. Science, fiction, Velikovsky a little bit thrown in, a little of the news. That's what we have to do every day. We got a long way to go till the election. We can't make this every day about the election, because you'll get bored, I'll get bored. I'd rather talk about Mesopotamian cuneiform sources than about Barack Obama. I would rather talk about the Holocene period than about Ted Cruz. I would rather talk about the Vostok ice core studies than the lies that Al Gore puts out for global warming. I mean, the global catastrophe that Gore and Obama and the Pope are putting out is utter rubbish, and it's all a power grab. Do you understand that? Now, I'm a botanist by training. I don't practice botany anymore, and I want to just give you one word on that. I've collected some of the rarest plants on the planet. In fact, there's a famous picture of me on the internet holding a monotypic species and a monotypic genus in my hand, and it was painted as an oil, and it's me holding Degenaria vidiensis on one of my trips. Trust me, I know a lot more about the subject than meets the eye, and what I'm telling you is don't buy the big lie. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUYCOIN. I only have a minute left in this hour, and many of my affiliates, some leave me, and they're not going to, get to what we're going to do in the third hour, but I know I promised you tomorrow won't be the same as today because I know when I'm in a manic phase like I am today, feeling good, in other words, for 3 straight hours, I usually go down the next day because the energy runs out and I shift to the other side. So I'm going to do, tomorrow's show will be devoted to bipolar issues, and I'll prove to you that except in extreme and limited cases, there's no such thing as bipolar. It's an invention of the psychiatric establishment. It exists to a certain extent. Oh, I'm bipolar. That explains raping 12 people? Oh, he was bipolar, so he was able to cut the guy's head off. What do we want to listen to this crap? Human beings have many issues. It doesn't justify crimes against other human beings or against humanity. End of story, Pinocchio. So when I come back, I'm going to continue talking about Earth in upheaval and how it all happened all at once. That all at once, animals were wiped out on the earth. At once. Bing, like that. Why? The axis shifted.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
It's just another manic Monday. Wish it was Sunday.
Well, we're talking about polar axial displacement, Emmanuel Velikovsky, and what Obama has done to the United States of America. Right now, Baltimore is up in flames because of the race war that Obama has triggered. And I can guarantee you that this is all part of the program. Of course, it's unfortunate the man was injured in the police van. It looks to me like it was done on purpose. No one whacks him around like that and breaks his neck by accident. But the riots are, as you well know, could have been controlled with the National Guard. But Obama wants it to burn, baby, burn. And outgoing Holder, well, here comes the lynch mob. You know what the theory is on that lynch mob, don't you, Loretta Lynch? That the police caused the riots, not the Black Panthers. And so rather than talking about something I have no control over, I'd rather talk about polar axial displacement. And what does that mean? It means the ideas of great importance to those of us with ideas. And I was referring to Dr. Emmanuel Velikovsky and his book, Earth in Upheaval. And he wrote things such as the encasing in ice of huge elephants, meaning mastodons, and the perfect preservation of the flesh shows that the cold finally became suddenly extreme as of a single winter's night and knew no relenting afterward. And in the stomachs and between the teeth of the mammoths were found plants and grasses that do not even grow now in northern Siberia. So what does that mean? What does it mean? Well, keep listening and maybe you'll find out what it means. Just before the last shift of the polar axis in about 1587 BCE, the North Pole, some say, was located in the Atlantic Ocean between Spain and Quebec. And at that time, northern Siberia had a tropical and subtropical climate. And then what happened? The polar axis shifted within a single day's time. These elephants were immediately frozen solid in their now frigid new polar environment. Can you believe these stories? You say, well, come on, you're making this up. No, it's very important you understand that there are theories about these things. And that when you hear these con men like Al Gore, Barack Obama, and the Pope selling you a bill of goods that man is destroying the earth with industrialization and global warming, you have to understand this is all part and parcel of the liberal theology of doing good to do very well indeed. As you well know, Bill Clinton did he did some very good. He did good in Haiti, and he did very well indeed. Didn't he? He went down there to do good, and he did very well indeed, the Clinton Foundation. That's how it works. So don't buy the whole package, please. Do me a favor. And that's why I'm moving it around a little bit into some other areas. If you'd like to talk about these things, let's take some of the calls. WABC. No, let me go to a different part of the country, please. KCMO in Kansas City, great affiliate, powerful station, right in the heartland. Jeff on KCMO, welcome to the Savage Nation. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just calling about mankind's effect on climate change, and to quote Hillary Clinton, what difference does it make anyways? If we're on what I believe is a 100,000-year cycle of ice ages, we're going to have to end up dealing with it eventually. So either we learn to live with it or learn to engineer around it. Am I right?
Right, but they're arguing that we're entering a heating period, while some scientists are arguing we're entering the opposite, which is a cooling period.
Well, either way, it's all still the same. The Earth goes through cycles of getting hot and then getting cold. So ultimately, we just have to either learn how to engineer the planet or just...
Yes, but they're arguing that it's a catastrophe. The Earth, the glaciers are going to melt, the sea levels are going to rise, and we're going to have another flood, which there's no scientific evidence for this.
Right.
So what would you argue? We should prepare for the floods, that Manhattan's going to be underwater, San Francisco's going to be underwater? That's nonsense.
Well, right, but at the same time, eventually...
Let me give you a little bit of empirical evidence. I was a boater for 25 years. I haven't been boating for 2 years now, but I used to read tide tables every day. I went out on my boat. I have to read the tide charts. Even though I had a fathometer, which can read the depth, I very carefully read the tidal charts. So I knew I was going out on a certain level. I didn't want to come in on a low tide for obvious reasons, right? Something ancient mariners have known about from the beginning of the maritime world. I look at these tide charts, and I look at the history going back 100 years. I have not seen a centimeter change in the level of the water here in the Bay Area of San Francisco. Not 1 centimeter has it changed.
Well, in 100 years, it's not even a blink of the eye.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is they're telling me that the world's coming to an end. You think it would have moved a millimeter in 100 years, wouldn't it? If the glaciers are melting at such a rapid rate, I would have seen a millimeter of water go up. It hasn't, not even a centimeter.
Well, everything's a catastrophe to them.
All right, so now wait, you just said something very interesting. Here is a problem. Everything is a catastrophe to the progressive liberal. I understand that. Never let a crisis go to waste. But we on the conservative, patriotic, traditional side must be very careful that we don't fall into the same trap of becoming catastrophists, where everything is a catastrophe, because we will be dismissed as nuts. However, there is a catastrophe. We have a social catastrophe with Obama. Right now, Baltimore is on fire because he has triggered a race war in this country. He has made the police evil and the black people victims. So Baltimore is burning. And that is a result of the cultural or social catastrophe of the socialist, communist, Islamist in the White House. That's the problem. There is a catastrophe, a real catastrophe. And that's why we're talking about these things. You look at the news, there is news. There's real news out there. Chaos. Baltimore's on fire. Why is it on fire? Because the comedian in the White House who was so busy telling lame jokes to show you what a nice guy he really isn't, didn't want to say anything about the situation that could have been avoided. Why? He could have reined in the Black Panthers. He could have sent in the National Guard or told the police that under no condition can Malik Shabazz be allowed in that city.